Feudal Ally is a new side-scrolling Metroidvania-like experience with a focus on combat and exploration. What I enjoyed right away was how inviting this game is. The soundtrack helps with this inviting experience. I really enjoyed the medieval themes playing in the background. The jumping and action all felt natural and good. The initial cutscene does a decent job at showing the background information you need to know to understand the context of the gameplay.
Then, one quiet summer's afternoon, the village was suddenly ransacked by a gang of robot bandits. They stole all of the vitally important oil supplies he needed to care for the retired robots, as well as valuables from local residents. Atu was concerned and didn't really know what to do, but he had a strong feeling that he had a responsibility to help the other villagers, and decided to bravely go against his gut and venture into the dangerous woods.
While the sequence is good, the story is not the focus of the experience. The early area does give you some of the basics, but it generally leaves it up to you to figure out how to go about the areas. I like the hands-off experience, as it did remind me of older titles where they just dropped you into the game and you kinda had to figure your way out. As you are exploring, you'll notice how the game will hide areas that you'll want to try and find. The first few instances of this will lead to some really satisfying feelings of discovery. Sometimes you will accidentally nudge yourself into the edges of the map and you'll open up a new area that may have an immediate chest for you to open, or you'll need to defeat a few enemies to claim your reward. The exploration continues to build and grow as you progress. You will earn a bomb early on, and these can be used to open up areas or as a means to attack enemies. Bombs will allow you to open up areas from a safe distance. As you defeat harder areas and bosses, you will gain other abilities to help you in your traversal. You will earn a quick dash that will help you to avoid deadly spikes and get to areas that are hard to get to with just a single jump. Along with that, you will get a block move that will let you defend yourself against guns that can one-shot you. Another move will allow you to do this electric smash to open up other doors. These new moves and abilities that you'll get throughout your journey will help you want to create this sense of exploration where you'll want to go back to older areas and see what else you might have missed there. Additional exploration is what you're going to want to do. While the exploring is a huge piece of the game, combat is another big part of the experience. You are armed with a sword and need to hack and slash almost everything that comes at you. Enemies will try to take you out whenever you get close, and some even try to hunt you down. They come in a good amount of variety, and it seemed like with each new area that I went to, there would be some type of new enemy that I needed to encounter. There are stationary enemies that are not too bad when by themselves, but combined with other foes, you might accidentally get hit because you're going to touch them. Then you have flying enemies that will try to seek you out. These are the ones that you want to focus on first because you're going to need to do a lot of jumping to be able to hit them. There's larger foes that will take many hits to defeat, but will net you with some of the decent rewards that you'll find in your experience. The variety here is appreciated. One thing to note about the combat is that the game does have its variation of a stamina system. Essentially, if you swing too much, you may overheat your character, and when you're like this, you cannot attack, and you must wait for yourself to completely cool down. This doesn't take too long to cool down, but it can feel like forever, especially during some of the tough combat encounters. You can manage this bar through your skill, upgrades, or even potions that you find. Also, there are challenging sections where the game will lock you into an area and continually spawn enemies that you will need to defeat. These sections can be pretty tough because of the amount of foes you need to fight along with the different types that are thrown at you. In some instances, traps are thrown into the mix to really change up these sequences and make them even harder. But you will usually earn a nice reward at the end of these. Defeated enemies will drop junk, which essentially acts as your experience. Once you have enough, you earn an ability point and you can put it into one of 3 trees. Experience points are often earned, but it also takes a lot of experience points to level up. These new abilities can really help you out, and as the game gets harder, you may want to consider to grind out a few experience levels to be able to get the advantage on your side. To change up the flow of combat with the normal enemies in the challenge rooms are the boss fights. The boss fights are rather enjoyable just because of the scale of the enemy that you're facing. They usually are larger foes and require you to defeat a multi-form enemy. A lot that I have described here so far will probably sound very familiar to a lot of people. This game does feel familiar, like you've played something like it before, but with the unique visual style that they have set here, it really does set itself apart. The hand-drawn art and interesting mix of fish-like robots within a medieval setting really works. Feudal Alloy doesn't really do anything new, but it's a good example of doing a good job at what it sets out to do. The exploration and combat are very enjoyable, but there are a few areas that I need to mention that are noticeable as you play. One thing that did bring some frustration are the situations where the game will require you to dodge or block against these guns that can kill you in one hit. I always find this stuff annoying in games, and it really did annoy me here. Thankfully, these sections tend to be short, but they will annoy some. I did enjoy the additions of the new enemy types, but some of the flying enemies did add some frustration to this. The flying helicopter bombers are really annoying because they have a tendency to just be right out of your reach of your sword. This is fine when you're fighting them alone, but when grouped up against other enemies with them, this can be really frustrating. The slow gain of level ups can cause the game to feel just a bit tedious for longer play sessions. I think maybe an increased rate of experience points with maybe more unlocks would have helped this. Regardless, the game is very fun to play, and I do need to highlight some of the good music. Feudal Alloy is a fun indie Metroid-like game. The game provides you with good exploration and rewards tied to that. You will find better armor pieces, swords, and gold to buy better equipment. New moves help to feed into the loop of exploration. Combat is also fun with lots of different enemies to slash at. The gameplay and setting helps to create an enjoyable experience. I would recommend you give this one a look.